I owe my life to them. From the moment I walked through, or was rolled through the doors of this hospital, I felt like we were treated like family. I'm very thankful that that is who my life was with them that day.
It was really in their hands.
Literally in their hands. I was going to work like a normal day. I am an instructional coach for Broken Arrow Public Schools. Within 30 seconds of entering the building, I was very short of breath. Our executive director of student health and safety, he just happened to be in the building and he recognized that I was in distress and actually called 911. Once the paramedics arrived, pulmonary embolisms have become more common and they had seen that. And I remember one of them saying, hey, this could be a possible PE.
You said your husband was there and they asked, where do we need to take your wife?
My husband is usually very calm under pressure. And he said that day when they asked him that, he couldn't speak. And he said, where would you take your wife? And they said, we're taking her to Hillcrest South.
I first saw Amy whenever she came in by ambulance. Broken Arrow Fire Department brought her in respiratory distress.
We were getting her set up and trying to get her on a BiPAP, which is a mask, to help her breathe better.
The last thing I remember, they did put an oxygen mask on me and I pulled it off and said, don't let me die. I'm a mom of 3 wonderful teenagers. I have a husband and a family and I could only think of my family. And
I was like, sweetie, we're not gonna let you die. We're not gonna let you die.
What she would categorize as would be what we call massive pulmonary embolism, where patients not only have difficulty in breathing or oxygen issue, but also what we call hemodynamic issue, means that their blood pressure is not staying up because the blockage is so massive.
I had a conversation with the ER doctors when I got there, but pretty quickly I went into cardiac arrest.
Next thing we do is do the pulse check. She doesn't have pulse.
So we got on the chest, started working our CPR.
The whole ER staff had gone through and done compressions. And at the end of it, we actually had to call an assist from different floors because we were all exhausted.
I at least did 2, maybe 3 rounds. You get pretty exhausted. 2 minutes is a long time.
Pretty evident that we were gonna try some clot busting medicine. This is kind of moment where it's all or none. But the idea at that time was that what's the harm, right? We've already gotten almost 40 minutes into CPR. There's nothing we're gonna lose and there's a lot to gain.
I know that usually after probably 12 or 18 minutes of CPR with no pulse, it's normally not going to be a good outcome.
There's a very skewed viewpoint about CPR from the movies and from the TV shows, right? Everybody thinks that, oh, chest compression is so easy. They do it for 5 minutes and patient will come back, which is not the case in majority of the times, right? They hung in, they did excellent quality CPR. I mean, no doubt, 60 minutes of CPR, that means every person who rotated every 2 minutes did a job and did exactly what they were supposed to do. Continued the CPR, and 60 minutes later, we had pulse.
A lot of times when they recover, we get a pulse back, they lose it again. So I was kind of anticipating that at a time.
Thank to God, she did well for 30 minutes, then she did well for another hour, and that's when the ICU doctors came in and we admitted her to ICU for close monitoring.
We had seen so much death at that point because of COVID that we just kind of I had lost a lot of hope in the fact that, we'd be able to get her back. So when we did finally get her back, we were just in shock because we had so much death for so many years. And so it was just so inspirational for us.
These are the sort of kind of things where you start seeing the hope, You're like, okay, maybe we're on the right path here. That came the next day. We revalued her. She was doing really well.
She had been extubated, and we all found out really quickly. I think it was just passed down from the ICU to the ER, and I think a large group of us, maybe 5 or 6, just ran upstairs to see her because she was a miracle at that time. And we coded her for so long that we were just so surprised that she was doing so well so quickly. So she was a miracle, and we were part of that. It's amazing.
If you're really thinking about those first 2 hours, I don't think even doctors did as much as those ER staff did, because CPR is the key.
We don't get to see the end of a lot of patients that we send up. We never know the answers, so I do pray for a lot of my patients. I was just praying that, you were able to go home to your babies.
It's really weird to hear people call you a miracle. I have just gratitude, and I feel humbled, and a lot of the nurses that came by to see me shared with me that they had lost hope and they were really discouraged, and my story re-energized that, and I just tried to pour into them that what they do every day matters and makes a difference.
In that first 2 hours, there were a lot of inflection points where we had to make decisions, and touch wood, everything we made was in the right direction.
I owe my life to them. I'm so thankful for Dr. Chothani and the team and the nurses and anyone who literally touched me that day. I am just forever grateful to them and very, very thankful.